Vous êtes à l'écoute de VipRadioOnline. Lors du Festival de Cannes, nous avons rencontré Sir Daniel Winn, acteur et coproducteur exécutif du film américo-vietnamien Chrysalis, présenté au marché du film et réalisé par Jordan Robert Schulz. Inspiré de son propre parcours, le film raconte l'histoire d'un jeune garçon grandissant dans un Saïgon ravagé par la guerre. Porté par l'amour de sa grand-mère, il se lance dans une quête d'identité, de résilience et d'espoir. Nous avons échangé avec Sir Daniel Winn sur cette œuvre profondément personnelle et sur les messages qu'il souhaite transmettre à travers ce film. Bonjour, enchanté Sir Daniel Winn.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Mary.
Vous avez déclaré dans The Los Angeles Tribune Vietnam Journal, la peinture capture un instant, la sculpture occupe l'espace, mais le cinéma traverse le temps. Sir Daniel Winn, pour rappel, vous êtes un artiste, sculpteur et philanthrope reconnu international et votre travail s'est longtemps exprimé à travers les arts visuels. Avec votre film autobiographique Chrysalis, qu'avez-vous voulu transmettre à travers le langage du cinéma que ni la peinture ni la sculpture ne vous permettraient d'exprimer pleinement?
I feel that as an artist, I communicate through my artwork, whether it is paintings or sculptures. It is a visual language of communicating my philosophy. My philosophy is about existential surrealism. Why are we here? What is the purpose and meaning of life? And why do we suffer? And why do there's so much pain? In my artworks, I can express that, but I feel it's limited. Through cinema, I feel that there are so much more that can be explained visually. Because in each frame of a movie, there could be thousands of frames, and each frame tells a story. And as the frame moves, it's like a sculpture, three-dimensional, that could be thousands of frames in a movie that expresses so much more of a visual language that my sculpture and paintings may be not able to communicate. So for me, merging fine art and cinema art will give a visual language that will express my philosophy about the existence of life, universal language, but also what is the purpose and meaning and why do we feel pain? This is what this movie and story is about. It is not just a story about my life as a child in Vietnam, but it is more about all of us. Because as human beings, we feel the same emotions. We feel the same pain, the same happiness. We will also, every one of us will experience loss, and even ourselves will leave this world one day. My hope is to communicate this philosophy to everyone that can watch this film and understand about themselves, and hopefully embrace their own existence, overcome their adversity, and make a difference in this world for those that are needed from us, and that to make a positive influence on others, because when we leave this world, what is most remembered by us are the good positive influence we've done for others.
Dans la culture vietnamienne, mais aussi dans la littérature, le papillon poum poum, ce qu'on dit poum poum,
Boom boom.
désolé, mauvaise prononciation. Le boum boum symbolise à la fois la transformation, la mémoire et parfois même les amours fragiles ou impossibles. Par exemple, dans les contes de Q, œuvre très importante au Vietnam, l'auteur Nguyen Du utilise souvent l'image du papillon pour évoquer les illusions humaines et les blessures du cœur. Votre film Chrysalis raconte lui aussi une profonde métamorphose intérieure. Est-ce que ce symbole du papillon était pour vous une manière de transformer la douleur de votre enfance en quelque chose de beau et d'universel à la fois?
It's interesting you ask about the butterfly and what it represents. For me as an artist, butterflies represents a metamorphosis, a new beginning, a transformation to overcome adversity. In a butterfly, before it becomes a beautiful butterfly, it is just a worm, a caterpillar. That caterpillar has to get into a cocoon and hibernate, and eventually has to break out of the cocoon as a metamorphosis, and has been enclosed in a cocoon for a while in the darkness, not understanding the world. But when the chrysalis, the cocoon breaks, is when the transformation and the butterfly emerges to understand the world and can be free. It is a new beginning. And in this movie, Chrysalis is the story about a young child who is innocent and naive and in essence like the caterpillar. And through his journey of life in Vietnam, through the adversity, to the abandonment, the lack of love, and the hunger, and living in an orphanage, that is the struggle of a caterpillar. But eventually, that caterpillar came into a cocoon who basically kept to himself. And eventually, I was separated from his grandmother in Vietnam and went to United States and left his grandmother behind. But ultimately, his grandmother, 15 years later, uh, went to US to say goodbye to him before she dies because she was very ill. At that point is when the young Daniel, the butterfly, or should I say the caterpillar, becomes the metamorphosis to become a butterfly, understanding the adversity, the struggle, and the human emotions of losing a loved one after all these years, and needs to learn and embrace his new beginning. And that's where the transformation of the butterfly comes in, is that he is now free of his torment, his emotion of loss, and overcoming that adversity, and understanding that the universe has its ways to make us understand that everything happens for a reason. Even if we don't understand that it is tough and difficult, it is a lesson. It is makes us stronger. It gives us an ability to grow and evolve and hopefully make a positive influence for others, whether through deeds or through actions or through education, or for me, through fine art and cinema, to share my experience, because they then will see their own experience in this movie as well to overcome their adversity.
Votre sculpture Chrysalis, récemment récompensée par la Mondial Art Academia, représente une femme assise tenant un papillon entouré de sphères contenant des mécanismes d'horloge, des symboles forts de transformation du temps et de la mémoire que l'on retrouve également dans le film. Cette œuvre rend aussi hommage à votre grand-mère incarnée dans le film par Qiu Cheng, qui vous a encouragé à poursuivre votre rêve d'enfant et à devenir artiste au lieu de médecin. Quel rôle cette sculpture a-t-elle joué dans la construction émotionnelle et visuelle de Chrysalis? Était-elle simplement une source d'inspiration artistique ou d'une certaine manière le cœur symbolique du film?
The sculpture is very profound. It has so many meanings. When I created the sculpture, I do not use any models. I created it from clay, and when I touch the clay, it speaks to me, and the form and the figures create itself. And when it creates itself, it is a metaphor, and it gives me insight of my existence, my life, my experience, and also what I need to say in the sculpture for this movie. In very essence, this sculpture is about the movie, but also a dedication to my grandmother. The aspect of the sculpture is very complex. When I first created in clay, I have to transform that from clay to bronze. And it is a process that's done for thousands of years that's called the lost wax process. And during that process, there is breaking, mending, healing in the sculpture and putting together. So there is a lot of chaos and turbulence of something that is from the earth, and transforming that over and over and over again before it turns into the beautiful sculpture in bronze and lucite that you see. And the purpose of that is to represent that life in itself is about chaos. It is about breaking and mending before restoring into order. So in very essence, the sculpture is a beautiful sculpture, but it arises from chaos. It did not just become a beautiful sculpture, but it went through a process that is very painful, very harsh, very chaotic. And that is what the movie is about. It is about a young child who went through so much adversity, being an orphan, being abused, being hungry, being homeless. And ultimately, grandmother is the only one that loved him and cared for him. But then he was ripped apart from her at the last day of the war in Vietnam to go to America. 15 years later, when grandmother finally had a chance to come over to see him, it was her last days to say goodbye to him because she was terminally sick. But he did not realize that. He was not thinking of that. So again, when she died, it was a process of breaking. And it's always a constant cycle of breaking, mending, and rebirth, re-envisioning yourself for a new beginning. When you see also in the sculpture Chrysalis, there is a sphere with clock mechanism in it. What it taught me in terms of my experience with life is that the sphere is like a bubble. A bubble is very brief. In a few seconds, it bursts. In the sphere and the sculpture, inside the bubble is time clock element, which represents time is very brief. And when the bubble bursts, your time is gone. So we need to understand that our time and place on this planet is very brief. And if we don't understand and realize that how we embrace the existence of ours and embrace everything that's happened to us as that is what the universe intended for us, learn from it, embrace it, understand it, and then make the best what we can do to make it better and a positive influence for others so that our humanity and our future of our generations will be a better place. That is what the sculpture is about. It is a dedication for my grandmother, but it is also a thesis about the universal truth, about life and death, about chaos and order, about beauty and the ugliness of what it is, but not necessarily one is better than the other. There is no sweet without the sour. There is no life without death. There is no joy without sorrow. So embrace those diversity or dichotomy, because once you embrace that and understand this is what needs to happen in life, then you can share your philosophy and your happiness to others in this world in a positive way, that when you leave this world, people will remember you for the positive things that you've done for others.
La scène d'ouverture du film est particulièrement intense sur le plan émotionnel, presque comme un souvenir fragmenté ou un cauchemar qui ressurgit. Comme Chrysalis est profondément autobiographique, est-ce que certaines de ces images ou émotions ont été inspirées par vos propres rêves, souvenirs nocturnes ou traumatismes restés enfouis pendant des années?
Absolutely. The making of this film was very bittersweet. In certain ways, it was very painful, but in some ways, it was very cathartic. It gave me a release of my pain and of my anger and resentment and remorse. When we created this film, I talked to the director, J. Robert Schultz, who understood the movie and my life based on my memoir. The script was very well written. And also, the director had the same experience with his grandmother. What we wanted to do in this film is to give it a very authentic realism. And so every scene was done at a location that was very accurate, but also the emotion, the dialogue was real. When I played myself, I put myself in that position. Or when other actors played it, I had to share them my memory so that they can relive that moment. It was extremely painful for me to watch them play that role with grandmother, because it is like, for me, watching my own memory that I've experienced. It was not easy to watch. It was extremely painful, but it hurt. But in a way, I am grateful because it gave me an opportunity to say goodbye to my grandmother, where I was never able to say goodbye to her when she died. So in a way, I'm very grateful and thankful that the actors in this movie gave an opportunity for me to say goodbye and share my history, my life, so hopefully that others, when they see this, they can understand and see themselves and maybe not make the same decisions, and appreciate their loved ones and hug them before it's no more opportunity. So it was a very bittersweet. It was difficult. It was watching memories over and over, but it releases a lot of pain that I've kept for almost 60 years. So I'm very grateful for the filmmaker, the actors, to make this movie so authentic and so organic and so real that everybody can understand.
Étant moi-même professionnelle de santé, et vous aussi d'ailleurs, je pense profondément que l'art peut être une forme de thérapie. Et j'ai lu que pour vous, tout ce que vous avez accompli artistiquement faisait aussi partie d'un processus de guérison. Dans le domaine médical, on commence à reconnaître de plus en plus l'importance de l'art-thérapie et de la guérison émotionnelle, mais cela reste encore très lent et très dépendant des pays et des cultures. D'une certaine manière, notre société semble encore un peu en retard sur cette question. Avec Chrysalis, avez-vous le sentiment d'ouvrir une porte, de montrer que l'art n'est pas seulement quelque chose d'esthétique, mais aussi quelque chose capable de guérir les traumatismes, la mémoire et même l'identité elle-même?
It is an interesting question about healing. As an artist, I feel that my artworks can possibly heal people because when I have exhibitions in museums and in art galleries worldwide, I notice that when people look at my art, my sculptures, and touch it, and when I explain to them why I do that creation, they start to cry and feel the emotion, and it helps them. My background is actually medicine. I wanted to become a doctor to heal people. What I discovered is that in my lifetime, as a doctor, I can only heal so many, and then my life is gone. But as an artist, I feel that if I created a collection of work, including also now in cinema art, I could create movies that will stay as a legacy as my children, that will ultimately heal much, much more than in my lifetime as a doctor. So in a way, I believe that visual arts, whether it is painting, sculptures, or cinema art, it is a way to help us understand ourselves as human beings and emotions. And the mind is such a powerful, powerful thing that sometimes if you think hard, it would heal yourself. If you are sad, if you are depressed, it hurts your body. But eventually, when you go to a therapist, they release that negative energy and that pain, so you be better and you live longer. I believe that art, film, this movie can achieve that by helping people see themselves in a mirror and hopefully understand what's happened to them as they saw in the movie that they see myself, because we all experience the same emotion and pain. And hopefully by understanding and seeing this movie, they will overcome the adversity and possibly help them heal themselves mentally, emotionally, and physically. So I highly believe that healing is not just a physical ailment. It is also a spiritual, emotional, and intellectual process that helps your body, mind, and soul. So with art, whether it's painting, sculpture, in fine art, or cinema art, and we are merging the two together, I believe can be a powerful combination that could be as successful with medicine that could benefit the world.
Merci. À travers Chrysalis, Sir Daniel Winn ne raconte pas seulement son histoire, il nous livre un témoignage universel sur la résilience, la reconstruction et le pouvoir de l'art face aux blessures de la vie. Entre mémoire, identité et espoir, ce film nous rappelle que même les épreuves les plus douloureuses peuvent devenir une source de création et de transformation. Un grand merci à Sir Daniel Winn pour le temps qu'il nous a accordé lors du Festival de Cannes et pour la sincérité de ses réponses. Si cette interview vous a plu, n'hésitez pas à le partager, à vous abonner à la chaîne et à nous dire en commentaire ce que vous retenez de son parcours et de son message. Merci de votre fidélité et à très bientôt sur VipRadioOnline.